What's up, Conroe kids? I'm so excited to kick off home groups for kids with you. Over the next year, we'll be talking about God's core values and how each of these principles shape our church, our lives, our relationships, and even our walk with God. So, what are these core values? Our core values are 9 important principles that will help maintain a healthy spiritual life and stay on track for where God is calling us to go. Our core values are both for the church and for us in our personal lives. Throughout 2024, we're going to dive in and study the following core values. First, the Word of God, worship, seeking God's presence, ministry involvement, the next generation, the family, missions and outreach, relationships, and finally, discipleship. These core values help us to stay on track and do all that God is calling us to do. This list doesn't cover every single rule or commandment that we're supposed to follow, but by following these core values, we can be sure that our lives are aligned with God's will and that our church is fulfilling the mission that God intended for it. It's kind of like a car. According to a Collector's Auto Supply study, the average car has roughly 30,000 parts. Every one of these parts is important, but can you imagine your mom or dad having to check every single one of these 30,000 parts every time you got in the car to go somewhere? That would take absolutely forever. Instead, there are very important parts that you should check and make sure are in good working order to tell that the car is in good condition to drive. These parts include air in the tires, the right type of fuel in the tank, clean oil in the motor, working headlights and taillights, a sturdy frame, and safe fluid levels. Keeping this list in working order will help to keep your family safe and your car on the road for years to come. This is why our core values are so important to our church and our walk with God. We'll never be perfect on this earth, but by following these core values, we will follow the will of God. These core values, like studying the Word of God, like seeking God's presence, will align the rest of our lives with God's will. That is why core values are important. We must work to keep our lives aligned with God's will. 1 Corinthians 9:24-27 says, "Do you not know that in a race all runners run, but only one gets a prize? Run in such a way as to get that prize. Everyone who competes in the games goes into strict training. They do it to get a crown that will not last, but we do it to get a crown that will last forever. Therefore, I do not run like someone running aimlessly. I do not fight like a man beating the air. No, I beat my body and make it a slave so that after I have preached to others, I myself will not be disqualified for the prize." And so Paul is saying that we should work to be faithful in our walk with Jesus and discipline ourselves to run with purpose and to do everything with the goal in mind of glorifying God and pleasing Him. Following our core values helps us in our walk to not be aimless, but to have intentional direction so that we do things on purpose, so we make sure that we're doing God's will. And I'm so excited to jump in and study these core values with you this year. Let's work together to make sure that we're following all that God has for us so that we can receive His blessing of living in His will.